I remembered. Woo-hoo. I'm always like, I'm going to record it. And then I forget. And then I don't send it out. So I'm going to put something in the chat really quickly for Jonalyn and Glenn because I think they might be still having issues hearing me. Not here. Right away. Okay, let me send this into the chat. I shouldn't have anyone stuck in the waiting room because I don't think I put to wait in the waiting room. So let's go ahead and get started. Let me share my screen. Hmm. Let me go back. That's the wrong share. Okay. We got that going. Now let me share my screen. Perfect. All right. Perfect. So hopefully everyone can see the screen. It's nothing fancy today. Um, but I won't keep you for too long. But this is something that's super personal to me, and it's a big part of my nutrition coaching. So thank you all so much for your time today and for prioritizing your mindset. We always talk about fitness and nutrition. We don't often talk about mindset. So um, let's go back here. All right. So I wanted to start today by being completely transparent with all of you about why this topic means so much to me. For most of my life, I struggled deeply with emotional eating. Growing up with a traumatic childhood, food became my primary survival tool. It was my way of coping when the world felt unsafe or overwhelming. When I hit my teenage years, I shifted to numbing my feelings with other substances, turning to drugs and alcohol. But when I got pregnant with my first son, Trey, I knew something had to change. I stopped the drugs and I stopped the drinking, except for occasionally. But there is a trap that I fell into, and that was food. And it was because food was still there. Food was my comfort, and it wasn't illegal. And because you have to eat to live, it was a million times harder to quit those bad habits than any substance. By the time my second son Jackson was born, I was at my heaviest weight, over 250 pounds, and I knew that I couldn't do this weight loss journey alone. I had tried everything and nothing had worked. So that is when I met Rob at CrossFit Ansbach, and I'm pretty sure that Coach Rob thought I was a total pain in his ass in the beginning, but he never gave up on me. I'm going to get emotional talking about him. Um, I found a coach who looked at me and knew that my struggles weren't a moral failure. It wasn't my fault, and he was willing to listen. Now, Rob wasn't necessarily the guy who wanted to sit down and talk about all of my life trauma, but I did know that he generally cared, and he encouraged me to go to therapy, and that is where the real shift happened. I finally started to unpack 35 years of disordered eating patterns. Before finding CrossFit, I had tried absolutely everything and nothing worked. I used to drink a Slim Fast for breakfast, another one for lunch, And by the end of the day, I would be so sad, exhausted, and physically starving that I couldn't even think about cooking dinner. So I would head straight to my ultimate comfort food, which was McDonald's or Sonic or any fast food, especially because Joe was deployed. So it just was convenient and easy. And it was also a place where I did have happy childhood memories. But once I was in that drive through, a destructive mindset took over. I would tell myself, this is the last time you're ever allowed to have this, so you better make it count. And I would supersize everything, order all my favorites, and binge. And of course, the next morning, I would wake up feeling like the worst person alive. And out of guilt, I would starve myself all over again to try and make up for it. So I completely wrecked my metabolism, and my basal metabolic rate was rock bottom. The breakthrough came when I stopped punishing myself every time I slipped up. With therapy, CrossFit, and a new approach to nutrition, I focused on making small, sustainable habit changes. I started understanding why I was making the choices I was making, and I stopped treating myself like a criminal. I didn't jump into just restriction. I started simply. I focused on 800 grams of fruits and veggies a day. Oh, no, wait, backtrack. Actually, the very first thing I did for nutrition with Coach Rob, and I tell a lot of people this, was I stopped putting sugar in my coffee and I would put honey in my coffee. And that was the first thing he told me to do. And I did that for like 3 weeks before we focused on anything else. However, I did start simply. I focused on getting 800 grams of fruits and veggies a day. And once that became a habit, which took a while, it took months and months because I did not eat fruits or veggies. But once that became a habit, I kept the 800 grams and then I added a daily protein goal. Only when I was fully ready did I then track my overall calories. I never counted macros and I never ate less than 1,800 calories a day. I refused to be miserable and starving. Okay, side note, everyone's calories will be different and mine are significantly higher now, but the point is we need to fuel our body. And prior to that, I was eating probably 1,400 calories a day at most. But it was way too low. By building a lifestyle, I could actually sustain the healthy choices started to spiral into better choices. The slip ups naturally became fewer and further between. And today at 43, I have lost 100 pounds and I have kept it off for over 7 or 8 years. My blood pressure and my blood sugar levels are completely normal again when I was hypertensive and pre diabetic. My heart rate and lungs are in great shape, even as a asthmatic. um, but my old back injury has healed a million times better because of the anti-inflammatory powers of my nutrition. And my doctors are often completely astonished by what I have been able to do over the past 12 years. So I tell you all of this because I get it. I know what it feels like to be trapped. And that's why we're here today. We aren't just talking about nutrition in the traditional sense of eat this and don't eat that. We are here to look beyond the plate and unpack the exact mindset shifts, psychological triggers, and the three pillars that allowed me to reclaim my health, my relationship with food, and my life. So, let's look about how our minds and our food interact. We often think of eating as a simple psychological event. We get hungry, we eat, we feel full. But in reality, food is one of the most emotionally charged elements of the human experience. It's tied to safety, culture, reward, and unfortunately, control. To change our relationship with food, we must first decode the silent psychological patterns of consumption. Let's look at the most destructive of these patterns, the cycle of punishment. And the pattern that many of us know too well, and I talked about earlier, the binge and starve cycle. So this isn't just about food, it's also an emotional loop. We experience a negative emotion, stress, loneliness, or exhaustion, which research refers to as negative affectivity. To cope, we seek immediate neurochemical comfort through food, which is the binge. But then immediately afterward, the psychological toll hits. We feel guilt, shame, and a loss of control. To undo the damage and regain control, we restrict our food or over exercise, which is then the starve. So it's this learned self harm. And we treat hunger and deprivation as penance for our lack of discipline. So the starve phase is highly stressful to both the body and the mind. And this chronic biological stress depletion is exactly what triggers the next emotional binge. So restriction doesn't fix the cycle, it fuels the cycle.
It doesn't.
So this brings us to the biggest psychological barrier, which is shame. In psychology, there's a term that's called the what the hell effect. And you saw it in my story. I'd be at McDonald's or Sonic in the drive-through, and I'd be telling myself, "This is the last time, so make it count." Or, what the hell? I'm already here. I've already failed the day. I've abandoned all control. What the hell? So,
Uh,
have to redefine reward. For years, my reward was numbing out with food. But the true reward is self compassion to stop the spiral midstream. It's the reward of waking up the next day, not needing to make up for anything, but just eating normally. To truly find freedom in my health journey, I had to move away from a place of restriction and into a place of consistency. And there were three key habits that changed everything for me: practicing true self compassion, shifting to an addition mindset where I focused on what I could add into my life rather than what I could take away from it. And then the third was learning to fuel my body for what it could do rather than what it looks like. And it's okay to have aesthetic goals. I'm not saying that. But if your training and your nutrition are fueled only by that, it will eventually destroy you. True resilience comes when you prioritize longevity and the pride of a capable body over anything else. So, success isn't perfection. I call it recovery speed. My life changed when I stopped trying to be perfect and started trying to be resilient. Overindulging one night, that's okay. Move on. Eat normally the next day. The faster you stop the punishment, the faster you heal. Ask yourself these questions. Is one bad night going to ruin all of your success? No. Why do you think you have to be perfect? Is it okay for you to live in that 80-20 space? Do you get paid to look a certain way or be fit? If not, then why do you have to be perfect in your food choices? Once I realized that I could have French fries a couple times a month and I didn't have to say goodbye to them forever, then I stopped the binge nights on the supersized fries. And I have heard that McDonald's has stopped supersizing things since then, but you know,
hmm, interesting.
so that's at least a good thing, I think, anyways. Okay, so when I tried to fix my health in the past, I failed because I would try to change everything overnight. And the secret to my success and the core of my coaching method is that we don't jump into restriction. We build the house brick by brick. And I use the three pillars method. I just finished my continuing education credits for my level 3 with E.C. Sikowski, who has created the three pillars method. And I did a 6 week nutrition coaching course with her, just learning more about what I'm going to go over in this next couple slides. So, pillar 1 is simply 800 grams of fruits and veggies in a day, and that's it. In this phase, you can change nothing else. You can eat whatever you normally eat. And the reason we do this is because you are focusing on adding abundance, not restriction. So, fruits and vegetables are low calorie, fiber rich powerhouses packed with essential vitamins and minerals. And by hitting this target first, you're naturally crowding out the junk. So you're satisfying your physical hunger, you're giving your body the biological needs to start healing through vitamins and minerals, and it fills you up. So you're less likely to consume as much of the other stuff that you don't necessarily want to consume. So, again, once this becomes a consistent habit, and I talk about 80-20 all the time. So 80% 80% of the time, you are making the best choices you can make for your health and your longevity. And then 20% of the time, you're eating for fun, you're eating for socializing, you're, enjoying life, whatever that might look like to you. So if you can consistently, like 80% of the time, hit your fruits and veggies, then I will move you on to the next level. And that's kind of when I moved on to that next level too. So, pillar number 2 is you continue to eat your 800 grams of fruits and veggies, and then you add zero point 0.7 grams of protein per pound of your goal body weight. And this is where the magic starts to happen for a lot of people with body composition. And that's because protein is the most thermogenic macronutrient. It literally takes more energy for your body to break down than any of the other macronutrients, which helps burn body fat. But more importantly, it preserves and builds your lean muscle tissue, especially if you're lifting weights and doing CrossFit. Your muscle is your metabolic engine, and protein is what keeps that engine running hot. Finally, when you are mentally and physically ready, we introduce pillar number 3. So, again, you're keeping pillar number 1 and number 2, and then you're layering counting your calories. And we don't do this to punish ourselves or restrict down to a miserable 1,200, 1,300 calories like I had talked about before. We do this for data. We need to look under the hood and understand if you're chronically overeating, or if I was doing during my starve cycles severely undereating, which can also slow and stop weight loss. So, to do this, we effectively calculate your BMR, or your basal metabolic rate, and I talked about that earlier. Your BMR is the exact number of calories that your body needs just to stay alive, breathe, and pump your blood if you were to stay in bed all day. You wouldn't gain anything, you wouldn't lose anything. It's the amount of calories that you need to sustain exactly where you are and function all of your vital organs. So, knowing your basal metabolic rate, which we do with the InBody scan, and that's why we give that to you when you first join. And with every 6 months, you can get a new InBody scan. And it tells you your basal metabolic rate on that paper. that is what you can then start to base what you are going to eat in a deficit if your plan is to lose weight. And then, of course, if your plan is to gain weight, you would eat in a surplus. Um, you need to take into consideration your TDEE, which has to do with your total daily energy expenditure. So, everything else that you do in a day. And that for most people is an average of 500 to 1,000 extra calories on top of your basal metabolic rate. So, again, it's all a numbers game and it's data, and it takes away the guessing. So it helps us find a realistic calorie goal to where you are fully fueled, losing fat, and never feeling miserable or starving. You don't climb the mountain all at once. You master pillar one before you graduate to two, and then before two, before three, you're mastering one and two. And then when you're ready, you're all three of them. And this isn't something that we do forever. This is something that we do for a period of time. To wrap everything up today, I want to talk about why understanding the three pillar method matters so much. So, every single day, we are bombarded with flashy fitness fads, extreme quick fixes, and restrictive diets that promise you the world in 30 days or abs in 6 weeks or whatever it might be. But now you understand the science of your BMR. So, the thermogenic power of protein and the psychological trap of restriction. You can see that those fads are, you know, really traps. That's what they are. They don't help people, they hurt people. They wreck metabolisms, they fuel the shame cycle, and they leave people feeling miserable and starving. And true health isn't about doing less or punishing yourself. It's about giving your body the abundance and the information that it needs to heal. And I know how firsthand incredibly overwhelming it is to try untangle years of emotional eating and broken habits on your own. And it takes time and patience, and it takes the right strategy. And there's lots of people that do it on their own. I did it on my own. I had, my coach Rob, but aside from that, I followed Easy Sikowski, but I never worked with her one on one. I just followed her advice. And so it is very doable. It maybe took me a little bit longer to do it on my own than if I did have a nutrition coach walking me step by step through it. So again, like, I am so deeply passionate about it. I went and I got my precision nutrition level 1 certification, and then, I continue my education and so forth. So I understand that education, and that is part of my nutrition coaching. I don't want you to rely on me forever. I want you to truly learn and understand nutrition and build the habits that are going to help you sustain the long run. So, again, I'm never going to hand you a rigid meal plan or tell you what you can or cannot eat. One, I'm not a registered dietitian, so that is illegal in the state of Texas. So if you're working with somebody who tells you otherwise, then they are lying. Meal plans, I can't write those and things like that. But honestly, like, learning how to eat for yourself is the best way. I'm just going to educate you, I'm going to support you, and I'm going to teach you some other habits besides, 800 grams protein and calorie counting. That's going to help with that emotional side of food and that connection. So, um, again, like, thank you so much for your time today. And I'd love to open up the floor to anybody if you have any questions.
Hear us anyway.
If you have questions, you can text
Oh,
me.
I'm not sure I do.
All right. You can also comment it or leave it in the chat. If anybody wants to leave it in the chat, you can type it in there and I can answer it for you. Or let's see, what else did I want to talk about today? I think CrossFit is like the most awesome. It's the foot in the door, and it's, I think, the motivator for most people, because if you can get consistent with CrossFit, then when you start making those nutrition changes, you have a little bit of confidence. You're doing hard things. You're showing up to the gym every single day. So you can do it. So that'll transfer over into making those food choices. Like, hey, it's a long day. Trust me, I hardly cook anymore. Ask my family. I used to cook breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then Joe made me go back to work. Just kidding. I love my job. I love what I do. But you know, I don't have a time to cook for my family like I used to. So there's options. I can go through fast food. I can go to Whataburger, or I can go to, like, Chick-fil-A, and you could find better choices there. There luckily are options. Like at Chick-fil-A, they have grilled nuggets, and they have fruit cups, and they have kale salad. So there are ways of making better choices. Like I said, you have to make things work for your lifestyle. So if you're busy, but HEB, I love going to HEB right after work, right down in Cibolo. Don't go to the one in Shirts. It's a nightmare all the time. But in Cibolo, right down the street from the gym, you leave the gym, I drive down there. They have great options. I like to walk around the store. Quick things I'll grab is, like, this is one, Chobani. They have 20-gram protein ones, and they have 30-gram of protein ones. And these are they have them back in the dairy section. You can buy them in like 4 packs, and then they have individual ones too. But they also have them in the front coolers by the checkout, the self checkout. So, like, I'll grab one of these. I'll grab some fruit, prepped fruit already, and veggies. No excuses. You don't even have to cut it up. Is it a little more expensive? Sure, but you were going to go eat fast food anyways. So don't talk to me about price, or cost. So, doing things like that, grabbing, you know, something I have like 3 minutes before I get kicked off, because I don't have the paid version for Zoom. So if we get kicked off, I apologize. But real quick, they have these new things at HEB now. They're like carrots or broccoli, and they come with like a seasoning packet in there. So you open it up, you sprinkle the seasoning packet, you close it, you shake it up, and bam, you got like fresh veggies right there with some seasoning on it. Be careful of the sodium, but those little packets should be okay. Um, yeah, so like you can make better choices, and you'll feel better. You'll feel better afterwards. So give it a shot. Just first step this week, if you're really struggling with emotional connection to food, I just want you to choose one thing in the day that you could do better, whether that's adding a piece of fruit into your day. If you hate veggies, that's cool. Fruit, awesome. I love it. I eat more fruit than I do veggies for sure. Um, or like, hey, even protein, make a good choice with protein. Grab one of these instead of like a Starbucks coffee drink or something like that, and see if you like it. So um, that's your goal for today. Make one good nutrition choice. And I'm going to reach out to everyone who participated today in 1 week, and you're going to tell me what good choices you made this week when it came to nutrition. So, what did you add in? Because I don't care what you took out. What did you add in? So, all right. I'll keep talking until Zoom kicks me off. So, if we don't have any questions, I'm going to let you all go. You guys are
Thank
awesome.
you.
Thank you so much for joining. You guys rock.
Thanks.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Have a good night.
Thanks, Haley.
Thank you. Bye. Thanks.
Thank you, Haley.
You guys are cool. Bye. Have a great night.